fairly, but everybody's very excited. That's the common theme. Everybody's very excited to come here and try to do it again.
Jason, there's still obviously a bunch of guys that could resign. Would you say you're about done, or there's still more work to be done in terms of other guys you could bring back?
It's still a fluid situation. We still have, things change every day. We're still, seeing what we can do on a couple of different fronts, but I don't think it's ever done. I think you're always trying to upgrade your roster or bring in guys for competition. It may not be the high dollar guys, it may be minimum wage. It may be, guys just giving them opportunity, young guys. So I don't think you're ever changing, but I think those types of moves get underrated a little bit, like the Aaron Stinnies and guys like that come in and play a big factor in your for your team, that during the season when you claim them off waivers or sign them from the practice squad, that like we have over the last few years, that doesn't make a lot of news at the time, but then they become important members of your team. So it doesn't have to be a big dollar guy or a high money guy. You can be, and we'll continue to do that throughout the rest of the offseason.
Thanks, Jason.
We'll go over to Rick Stroud.
Hey, Jason, I guess the good news about picking 32nd is you won the Super Bowl, right? But it is at the bottom of the first round. So what kind of a spot is that? I mean, traditionally, you looked at it, is it a heavy trade spot, or does the fifth-year option with a first-round pick outweigh that?
We're not going into this saying we've got to trade out of that pick or that we're going to stick with the pick no matter what. That will present itself as the draft goes and we get closer to our pick. I think there's been several times, I think every year in the draft, when we've been picking high lately, but that when it gets down to the 32nd pick, I'm like, oh man, I wish we had a pick right here because I really like this guy here that we're going to take. So, picks 1 through 32, they all have a 50% chance of being a player. So I think, the chances of a guy being a very good player are just as good at 32 as they are at 1.
Hey, Jason, when you look at your team and your needs, obviously you got 22 starters coming back, but by the same token, your front seven has some age on it with the outside of Devin and maybe Vita. So does that become a need in as much as you have one right now?
Yeah, I mean, we have to look at that. We have to take the long view, but there's other positions as well that, we're going to need down the line in the future. So we don't want to pigeonhole ourselves into saying we have to take a certain position high in the draft. I think that's one of the good things about our situation right now is we can take best player. We've been saying that.
Thanks, Jason.
We'll go over to Jenna Lane.
Hey, Jason, thanks so much for doing this. Great to see you.
Yeah, thank you.
The term voidable years is something I know I needed to have kind of a refresher course on because it's just been so long since I'd seen that being done here. When was that something that you guys decided you were going to be able to do on your contracts this year? Was it something that you kind of needed to, I don't know if you needed the okay from the league office to do that? Like how did that kind of manifest?
That's been something that's been done for a long time with different teams.
Right.
And you see it this year too. A lot of teams are using it this year.
Yep.
It's something that we've talked about for a few years here, in terms of our cap situation, our future cap situation, and the way we've done contracts. We've said if we ever get to a point where we have a really good team, an excellent team like we have, and we need to start doing this, using this the voidable years and kicking it down the road a little bit, then we would. So we were in position that we were able to do it this year. It wasn't something that just immediately after the season we decided we'd do. It's something that we've talked about for a while.
And we were talking to Joe Glazer about this yesterday. There seems to kind of, I guess, be a misconception that you guys are going to be in some type of salary cap hell because you are using some different strategies to construct these contracts like voidable years. Can you just kind of clear that up a little bit? And, how much work is going to need to be done in the future with your cap situation?
Well, there's some corrections that are going to have to take place at some point down the road, but we're not putting ourselves in a position where next year we have to release a lot of good players. We're going to be in good shape if we continue to just make sure that we make smart decisions and we do things right. We're going to be, competing for years to come.
Thanks so much.
We'll go over to Scott Reynolds.
Hey, Jason, in years past, the Bucs have kind of been done around the first of the year, but you and your coaching staff had 5 extra weeks of football in 2021, thankfully so. I know Mike Beal and your college scouts have been cranking away with the scouting process, but with your coaches needing a break after the Super Bowl, are they and you kind of caught up in terms of draft prep, or are you still playing catch up a little bit?
I don't want to say we're playing catch up because I feel good where we're at, but it's just the timeline is just a little bit different. Things I'm doing this week, I would have done a couple weeks ago, but I need a break too, but I'm looking forward to to June. But it's fun. It's a good problem to have. We're all cranking away right now. We're going to have meetings here the next 2 weeks. We'll have meetings sporadically here to get it all finished up and to get the hay in the barn, as we say, and be ready to go. So
you've gotten used to the virtual draft process halfway through last year, but you were able to go to the Senior Bowl and the Combine last year to meet some of these players face to face before the pandemic shut everything down. Now with just the pro days and with you guys playing football into February, has that limited you getting to know and getting a feel for some of these prospects just through Zoom?
it's certainly different. It's certainly different. Last year we were at the Combine and pro days kind of got shut down quickly. We talked to, several guys at the Combine. That's the only difference between this year and last year. Now we're doing them on Zoom every day here. Mike and John and the guys are getting them all set up. So I actually, it's become kind of the new norm of doing the Zooms. So I feel like we all feel like we're getting a pretty good feel for these guys on the Zooms. It's just a little different. It's what we have to live with.
Thanks, Jason.
We'll go over to Joey Knight.
Jason, in terms of the draft eligible kids who opted out last year, does that complicate matters in terms of your assessment of those guys?
I don't know about complicate. It just makes it a little bit more challenging. You're watching tape from 2019. A lot can change with a player between 2019 and now, especially if they haven't been playing and they've just been training. But just makes it a little bit more challenging. But once again, that's what we're dealing with. That's what every team's dealing with this year.
All right, we'll go over to James Palmer.
Hey, Jason, good to see you. I'm curious, with all the starters coming back, are you a little bit more, I guess, or is the ability to go after somebody that may be a project a little bit more likely for you in the draft, just because you maybe have the ability for them to sit and learn in a sense? Could you look at a developmental guy differently this year as opposed to other years? Absolutely.
Absolutely. It's a luxury that we could have this year. Now, of course, in the perfect world, you'd want to pick players that can come in and help and contribute right away. But we do have the luxury of having guys sit back and learn from and watch and get developed by our coaching staff and the veteran players that all, we've said it over and over. We have a great locker room. These guys are going to embrace anybody that we take. So, at any position. So it is a luxury.
Congrats on that luxury. And is there any sort of update on Tom physically, on if you guys do have workouts in the spring, what he might be able to do or where he's at in terms of rehabbing?
I know he's doing well through rehab. I talked to him last week. I know things are going well. I don't want to put an exact timeline on it right now because I don't want to set expectations one way or the other, but I know that things are going very well.
Okay. Thanks, Jason.
We'll go over to Ira Kaufman.
Hey, Jason, you've been overseeing these drafts, Jace, for 7 years now. And looking back, Jason, is it an exaggeration to say at times you felt a little restricted in terms of need pressing in on your draft board? And And Jason, now do you kind of feel liberated? Is this kind of a first time thing for you, the way you approach this draft?
Yeah, it is. To be honest, you always wanted to make sure you set your draft board where you weren't pushing your positions of need up too high, because that's where you make mistakes. But sometimes it naturally happens, and you got to make sure you put the reins on it, so you don't make those mistakes, many of those mistakes. But it is a really good feeling this year that just literally just about any player at any position we could take. I guess I'll say I won't take a kicker, but it is liberating is probably a very good word.
And Jason, the departure of Ryan Smith, I don't know if you'd call that a pressing need in terms of special teams, but what about your depth at corner? Jason, could you pick up a veteran? Could you look at the draft for that? How you feeling about corner?
Yeah, it's always want to bring in corners. We really like Herb Miller. We thought Herb was really doing well in practices last year, and then when he had a chance to play, Detroit, had a pick. He was doing that in practice all year. We're really excited about him, and yeah, we're looking for depth at all positions, and special teams is something that we want to upgrade, have some upgrades and get better at. So all those positions.
Thanks, Jason.
Go over to Steve Isbitz.
Hey, Jason. Percentage-wise in the draft, it seems like you've had overwhelming success on offensive line and at wide receiver. Is there something you credit your staff is doing, or anything to that?
No, I think it's just kind of the way it's gone. Those are some pretty good players that we picked at those positions too. So I think our staff has done a great job overall. And I think we've made an effort to bring in the right kind of guys, as well as, being talented football players, but the right kind of guys. But those particular positions we've had some more success at, it seems, and we've taken a look at that. But I don't think it's because we're better evaluators of offensive linemen or wide receivers. I think we've done a good job recently with our secondary. So it's just one position. So linebacker. So I can't really give you any concrete reason why those positions that you're saying that we've done well at.
And sort of adding to what James asked, from what you're seeing in this draft, do you feel like you could actually find a day one starter to break through on a loaded Super Bowl roster? It's not. It's possible. It's possible. So, but that would depend on the position. But it certainly is possible. But we're not. Like I said, like we've said here, it's a luxury that we have this year that we can pick who we think is going to be the best player in 2 years. And that's what we always kind of set our draft board, is what this guy is going to be in 2 years. And in today's day and age, everybody wants it to be, in 2 games. But we're going to take the long view here and bring in the player that we're going to be happy with for the long haul. Thanks.
We'll go over to JP Peterson.
Hey, Jason, how are you? Just to expound a little bit on what we're looking at from the draft, from the contracts that you signed for this group. It looks like you pushed a lot of salary into 2023. So is it fair to say that Brady plans on playing 2 more years? You're loading up for these 2 years, and then may have to pay the piper a little bit down the line when the cap kind of explodes. Could you expound on that?
Yeah, we are pushing it a little bit. The cap's going to go back up. So for everybody, and then there are some things you can do to kind of even it out, so it's not all in 1 year. So, there's a lot of different things that we can do, so we don't just get hit in 1 year with a lot of the cap that we're pushing out. So that's not anything that we're afraid of right now.
And in terms of COVID, with the players, I guess, starting to get vaccines, can you update us on that? What protocols may change, and and maybe how much you're looking forward to having a full stadium with this whole crew, with Brady and Gronk and Levante and everybody you've brought back. What does that look like for you?
Well, really looking forward to having stadiums full. Looking forward just merely for the fact that I'd love to see our fans see this live this year. They deserve it. You know, we got a Super Bowl win. I'm so excited for the fans, people here in Tampa for that. So for them to get it, to go to the game and watch it, that'll be just awesome. In terms of the protocols this year, something we're still kind of working through right now. I'm sure that there will be new protocols. We're kind of working, the league and teams are kind of looking at short windows here, what it's going to be like through April. I know that we'll have virtual OTAs starting on the 19th, but then beyond that, we're still waiting on word from that and what these protocols are going to be.
Time for a few more. We'll go to Greg Auman.
Hey, Jason, as we've talked about, everybody, all the starters back from this team, and the fact that you really haven't cut anybody, it makes it a tough roster to crack in the fall. But I want to ask you, of the guys that were on the practice squad, the guys that weren't really on the field for you, if there are any that you would point to as guys that you're really looking forward to see what they can do with another offseason and a training camp to compete.
Yeah, I'll say, well, we're excited about a few of them, but I would say one that stands out is Travis Johnson. Travis Johnson did a great job this year for us. And, you know, he was kind of a hybrid quarterback receiver in college. And this year, you know, he was honing his craft as a receiver and he got better and better every day. So he's one guy that potentially is a special teams guy, you know, fifth, whatever receiver, sixth receiver. I don't know, Bruce may want to keep 8 receivers on the roster this year. So, but yeah, he's a guy that we're looking forward to watching here and developing further.
We'll go to Jenna Lane and then close with Scott Reynolds.
Jason, you know, BA showed us that he got a Super Bowl tattoo the other day, and a number of players, they are starting to show off their Super Bowl ink. So I wasn't sure if you have had any discussions with Blair, if that was something that you were going to be doing as well. And you're not allowed to be doing any April Fool's Day jokes with us on this either.
You know, I have nothing against tattoos. I think BA is as cool as hell, and so is Laquan Winfield and, you know, Mike Evans. I think they're cool. I didn't get one. Maybe next year. Maybe next year I'll get a face tat.
That's an April Fool's.
Yeah, I'm kidding. So, you know, well, before I make any declarations about getting a tattoo this year or next year, I need to think through it a little bit, what I'd want and where I want it.
Totally understand. Thanks.
All right, we'll close out with Scott Reynolds.
Jason, I know you haven't until May to make this decision, but given how much Vita Vea means to your defense, is it safe to suggest you'll be picking up his 5th-year option this year?
Yeah, it's safe to say that.
And can you just maybe put into words what him coming back for that last 2 very important games meant to your defense, and just in terms of the sack production? He didn't get a sack, but certainly helped your team get some in those last 2 games.
Yeah, he plays a very pivotal role in our defense. When he's in there, a lot of things happen for not just him, but everybody else around him. So the day that we found out that he was going to come back and play, it was a very big day for all of us. Very exciting day. Coaches, scouts, players, owners, everybody. We were all very excited.
Thanks, Jason.
All right, that's going to be all for today. Thanks, Jason.
Thanks, guys.